Hello humans, I am the Black Cat, and today we finish off our delve into the Omen franchise with The Omen 4, The Awakening. The Omen 4 was released in 1991, starring Faye Grant as Karen York, Michael Woods as Jean York, and Aisha Vieira as Delia. So this movie was released about 10 years after the final conflict. The Awakening starts with Karen and Jean adopting a baby girl from an orphanage that is run by nuns. As they leave with the baby, a young nun that was apparently working with the couple to help them adopt goes kinda crazy and leaves the orphanage. That brings up my first question, she seemed fine with setting them up with this baby, but as soon as she's gone then she's like, oh no, what have I done? How did she not have issues with it before? Also, why is it that this baby, this one and Damien were linked with religious institutions, but then doesn't like the idea of going into a church? That doesn't quite make sense to me. How is it these people who are devoted to religion actively taking care of this baby? Where did they get the baby from? Why did they think it was okay to adopt this baby out? I don't understand. Anyway, Jean and Karen take the baby home and name her Delia. Flash forward, and Delia is now 8 years old. Karen starts to notice things are not quite right with her. It's little things at first, like Delia not having any friends and getting into fights at school, stuff like this. After a while, Karen starts to put all the things together and starts to think that maybe something else is going on with her. They decide to hire some help and hire a woman named Jo. Jo is more of a new age type of person. She has healing crystals and is friends with psychics and stuff like this. She notices that all her crystals turn black, so she goes to a friend to see what he sees in Delia. Her friend can see auras and tells Jo that Delia's aura is black and red, which is unusual. So she takes Delia to a psychic fair and has her friend take an aura photo of her so she can see the aura. Aura photos are a real thing. I've had one done in the past. Whether they genuinely show your aura or not, I don't know. Anyway, at the fair, all the psychics can feel Delia's presence. Delia isn't happy about the whole being tricked into getting this photo taken, so she causes the whole fair to burn down. Jo decides that she's going to tell Karen about the whole thing, but before she can, she's killed off. This causes Karen to faint, and she's rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, they discover that Karen is pregnant. Meanwhile, Karen is getting more paranoid about Delia. She finds a book about healing crystals that Jo was going to show her, and apparently there's a few notes in the book that are taken from the Bible, as well as the photo. So Karen explores this more by referring to the Bible. She visits a priest who helps explain stuff to her that's in the Bible, which is good in a way because it helps explain to the audience as well, even though it is if you're watching this, you're probably familiar with the Omen franchise already, so you already know all this stuff. Even if you're not, you've never read the Bible and not a religious person, you still can follow the story. She decides to hire a private investigator to find the nun from the orphanage that they dealt with, because when she went to the orphanage to find her, they wouldn't tell her anything, just that the nun had left. The reasoning is that she wants to find out who Delia's biological parents are, so the private investigator ends up tracking the nun down, which I forget her name. She changed her name to Felicity. She's now part of a different kind of church, the kind that does snake handling. I don't know what you could call that. So he goes there and shows her the photo of herself with Karen and Delia. The thing is, the part that I again had a problem with was that he chose to do that while the nun was in the tank with snakes. Why then? Why not wait until after the show? But no, he decides to distress her while she's handling snakes. So of course she freaks out and is bitten by all the snakes. And she dies. But before she dies, she tells the PI, the private investigator, to find her scrapbook in which she's been putting all the info. I guess they didn't really show the book or what was actually in it. Because of the weather, he's stuck in the town, so he decides to mail the book to Karen, but the PI doesn't make it back. The whole bit with the PI seemed kind of pointless. It didn't highlight anything. Yeah, there was the book that he sent to Karen and that, gave her a bit more information, but we didn't see the book. the audience. We don't know what was in it. There was some reference to Damien, apparently. It just seemed really like, here's this thought, but then no, let's not go with that thought. Anyway, Karen ends up having the baby and kind of forgets about the whole thing. Although she's still suspicious of Delia, she doesn't trust her. Jean mentions sending the kids to boarding school. When Karen asks where they would send them, he suggests Rome. This sparks Karen's suspicion again, and she goes back to the priest. He explains that the Antichrist would be involved in politics and would apparently be educated in Rome. And this is like lightning bolt moment for her, I guess. Meanwhile, she gets the book from the PI and realizes that Delia is in fact evil, I guess. Again, they didn't really show the book. So she goes to the doctor that was involved with a lot of stuff that I'm not going to be bothered to explain. She convinces him to explain the whole thing. And at this point, there's going to be spoilers, if you care. So again, I'm going to put up the spoiler thing to show that there are spoilers here. So apparently, according to the doctor, Delia is Damien's daughter, but that's not all. She was also born with her twin inside her, which is weird in itself. So the doctor removed the twin and implanted it in Karen, basically making Karen the surrogate mother for Damien's son. So Karen's son that she gave birth to is in fact Damien's son, and Jean is destined to become the president of the United States. So Delia and her brother are destined to be brought up in political power, basically. The kills in The Awakening are not overly graphic. There's not a lot of blood. In fact, I'm not sure I saw any blood at all. No, actually, there was one scene that had some blood. But then the whole franchise didn't really lean too heavily on gory death scenes. There was a little special effects makeup, but overall, there was really not a lot of special effects used. In fact, they I think they more went on like the cheaper, easier route of special effects. I mean, there was one scene with a guy getting his head cut off and they didn't even have a rubber head. They didn't show it at all. The scene where the PI dies was kind of hammy for my taste. I mean, first he sees a what's it called? A manger scene where Jesus turns into, I guess, zombie Jesus, and then he sees a choir looking like zombies and they're singing at him. They're singing like the Omen theme song at him. I don't know. It was too over the top with cheese, in my opinion, and not in a good way. Like I said before, there's good cheese and there's bad cheese. This was bad cheese. Speaking of cheese, there was way too many times they showed an upside down cross as well. It's like every time something happens, there's a cross. Upside down. Even when nothing was happening, there's a cross. Like, oh my god, we get it, okay. It was too much with the upside down crosses, basically. Overall, I did kind of enjoy it to a certain extent. I liked that they include different kinds of spirituality with the New Age people and the snake handling stuff. I liked that they showed Delia affecting the crystals. That was interesting. In this movie, Delia is 8. She's a little older than Damien was in the first movie, so she's more aware of who she is and what's going on. There's no like realization stuff for her. She's like automatically evil. Kinda liked that with Damien in the first movie. He didn't really do much. It was more stuff happening around him. It wasn't until halfway through the second movie that he embraced his power. So I kinda liked that this movie didn't muck around with that side of it. She was already fully aware and using her power. However, I don't want to get political or anything. I certainly wouldn't call myself a feminist, but it did feel a bit disappointing that they had to include a son into the mix. The priest mentioned that the Antichrist could be a woman, so why wouldn't the movie just go with that idea? Why did she have to have a brother? Surely in this day and age, a female president is possible, right? I mean, this movie is pretty old now, but still. I would like to see more from Delia, but this was the last movie in the franchise, and apparently it wasn't very well received. A lot of fans of the original trilogy don't consider this movie to be canon at all because it was pretty bad in comparison to those other movies. So I doubt we'll be seeing more of her anyway. So would I watch it again? Yeah, I think I would. I remember watching this one years ago and not being overly impressed with it, but after watching it again, I kind of like it. I mean, it's not great, it's certainly not the best movie in the franchise, but it's okay. I think it would be more interesting if it wasn't part of the Omen franchise, if it was a completely separate thing with just different story about this girl being the Antichrist and not connected to Damien. I think that would have made it more interesting instead of trying to shoehorn in, this connection. I think the story needed to flow better than it did. It was a bit all over the place. And it doesn't need to hit you over the head with upside down crosses all the time. But anyway, that brings me to the end of this review and the end of the Omen franchise. Overall, it was an interesting storyline. At points it was also disappointing, but let me know what you think of this movie if you've seen it. If you like this review, please do give it a like, and if you'd like to see more, you could also subscribe. There's an option, it doesn't cost anything. Also, if you managed to get this far into this video, let me know if I should review the remake. I'm kind of debating whether I should do that or not. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Я вот,